Imagine you come back to high school right after a near-death experience. It took all you had to overcome this experience, but you managed to come out stronger than ever. How would you feel? Would you have a new lease on life? Or would the mundane monotony of it all feel a little pointless? Well, before you can process those complex emotions, on the way home to your emotionally unavailable mother, the literal embodiment of what caused your brush with death has returned, forcing you to relive the ordeal once again, this time with even greater stakes. This time he will actually be trying to kill you. That is the plight of Yusuke Urameshi. Yusuke is the epitome of 90s anime. Now, normally when I make a statement such as that, I would preface it with, in my opinion. But in this case, I think it's a matter of fact. It was also the first anime I ever watched when it was on Toonami back in 2004. But I was 3 at the time, so I didn't actually watch it seriously. Some years after that, the memory of it made me seek it out. And man, was that one of the best decisions I've ever made. I don't know if I can say for sure if the show changed my life, but I can definitely say that it changed the course of it. I can even pinpoint the very scene that ignited this course correction. But before I get into that, let's talk a little more about Yu Hakusho as a whole. The anime is about Yusuke Urameshi, a grade school student who's a bit of a delinquent, a hoodlum, a ruffian. Yusuke feels a little lost to say the least, as he doesn't really know where he belongs. He isn't doing well in school, his mother's a distant alcoholic, and he isn't even satisfied being a street thug because he beats up everyone that faces him. Yusuke also has a reputation of being a huge douchebag. Most people are scared to approach him and or think he's a worthless waste of space. Even some of his teachers perpetuate this rumor. His only real friends are a girl named Keiko who tries to steer him in the right direction, and a fellow street thug, Kuwabara, who constantly tries to fight him despite losing every time. They have a complicated relationship, but more on that later. So one day when Yusuke was walking, he came across a little boy playing ball in the street. At first Yusuke berates him, but when he starts to cry, Yusuke feels bad and makes a funny face to cheer him up. Then when he walks away, the kid kicks the ball in the street, forcing Yusuke to jump into action to save him, killing himself in the process. This is where the show gets turned on its head. Turns out the rumor of Yusuke being a douchebag was so widespread that it made its way to the afterlife, because the Grim Reaper herself tells Yusuke that the spirit world doesn't have any room for him. They had no idea that Yusuke was capable of such selflessness, so the spirit world has an offer for him. Yusuke can come back to life if he works for them as a spirit detective, a job which Yusuke eventually accepts.
And check this out, it's also brought to you by Yu Hakusho. Check this out, Jared, I love this guy. You gotta watch this show.
Now, as spirit detective, Yusuke works cases regarding demon activity. One of these cases, we meet Hiei, a demon from the spirit world, and Kurama, a demon in a human body. Eventually, these two will work with Yusuke on bigger cases that require more help, even though Yusuke was pitted against them at first. Even Kuwabara, fellow street thug, joins Team Urameshi after realizing he himself has stronger spirit energy than your average individual. But enough pleasantries. Time for the nitty-gritty. After having more than his fair share of cases, Yusuke has been so successful as a spirit detective that he's made a bit of a name for himself. Thus, he has a bit of a reputation. But this case is a little more complex than the others. Yusuke and Kuwabara are tasked with a rescue mission. A business mogul who has made his fortune on the black market is harboring a demon whose tears sell for millions. The pair must retrieve her and bring her back to safety. The kicker: the girl just so happens to be the long-lost sister of Hiei. When the two arrive at the stronghold, they quickly dispatch all of the weaker defenses to the point where the business mogul considers it to be a business opportunity. He calls up his friends and asks them to bet on the outcome of the ordeal. Will Yusuke succeed in his goal, or will the mogul's defenses prove to be too much? What the other rich bettors don't know, however, is that the mogul has an ace in the hole, the Toguro brothers. Two brothers whose strength he has seen in action and believes them to be unbeatable. So of course, the climax of this encounter is the two brothers versus Yusuke and Kuwabara. At first, the fight appears to be overwhelmingly in favor of the brothers. The mogul is basically salivating at the prospect that he's about to win an obscene amount of money. But right when he thinks the victor is all but assured, Yusuke and Kuwabara put together a last-ditch effort to defeat the brothers. And to everyone's surprise, it works. After getting beat up the entire fight, the duo managed to defeat the brothers and leave with their lives. If you're wondering how Yusuke and Kuwabara managed to pull this off, it's because they in fact did not.
Not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. We made it up.
The Toguro brothers were actually employed by one of the other rich bettors who told the brothers to throw the match as he bet everything he owns on Yusuke winning. After losing his entire fortune in bets, the mogul is killed by Toguro. Oh, and this isn't important to the story or anything, but I thought it would be funny to mention. This whole entire time, Yusuke and Kuwabara were being tracked by Hiei like he's fucking Batman or something, just in case they managed to not save his sister. This was the first time Yusuke encountered someone that he truly felt he would lose to, so much so that the encounter legitimately scared him, an emotion he doesn't have much experience with. After this life-changing encounter, Yusuke returns home and it's back to the old status quo, with a little existential crisis mixed in. Nothing he can't handle. But what is a little jarring is when the guy he just fought tooth and nail to kill pulls up to his hometown while he's on an afternoon stroll with Keiko. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Yusuke, but this nigga Toguro pulls up with the craziest energy I've ever seen. I mean, this man is riding on a motorcycle that he's twice the size of in a trench coat with no shirt on under it. The nigga has a helmet on and takes it off to reveal to Yusuke who he really is. What's really wild though is that he still has his goddamn shades on under the fucking helmet.
Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool!
But he's not done flexing just yet. He throws a slight jab 20 feet away from Yusuke, and the air from the jab slices Yusuke's shirt. Like, what does bro got going on? Bro is so drippy, he got Yusuke shaking in his boots. But for now, Toguro just wants to talk. But he still isn't done flexing on him. First, he tells Yusuke that he was only using 20% of his power when he fought him, then proceeds to use 60% to destroy a building just to prove it to him. Then he saves Yusuke from the rubble just to tell him he has 2 months to train and assemble a team of 5 for something called the Dark Tournament in order to face Toguro and his team. And you guessed it, it's a fight to the death.
Gary, stop doing it.
At this point, Yusuke, Kurama, Kuwabara, and Hiei have become something of a found family. They have fought their hearts out to get to the finale, and the stadium couldn't be any louder. And they sacrificed quite a lot to even get this far. If you're paying attention, you probably noticed earlier that Yusuke needs 5 members to join the Dark Tournament. The first 4 spots consisted of the usual suspects: Yusuke, Kuwabara, Hiei, and Kurama. The 5th spot, however, well, they had to get a little creative. So they enlisted the help of Genkai, an older lady who happens to be Yusuke's master. She's also the main reason Yusuke managed to power up after their months of training. But Genkai has another secret. When she was younger, her and Toguro actually entered the tournament together on the same team. In fact, they were lovers at the time. You see, Toguro used to be pretty chill when he was younger, and even had his very own dojo. But when he was away, a demon took it upon himself to squad wipe his whole dojo, including the younger ones, eating them all.
You got them all!
This sent Toguro in a blind rage, and when he found out the very same demon was in the Dark Tournament, he entered and completely obliterated him in the finale. As a consolation prize, he wished to have a demon body so nothing like this would ever happen again. And he hasn't been the same since. Genkai was disgusted by such a decision and they went their separate ways. Now, back in the present, before Toguro and Yusuke's teams can formally face off, Toguro fights Genkai and kills her to prove he was right all those years ago. Luckily, right before her death, Genkai basically gave the last bit of her power to Yusuke, prepping him to face off with Toguro. Now, not only does Yusuke feel like he's ready to face Toguro, but he's eager to get his lick back. Yusuke's team was successful in all their matches, but it took everything out of them to do so. And now is the time we've all been waiting for.
Yusuke versus Toguro, the most anticipated fight of the Dark Tournament, begins now.
This is a very complex fight. Yusuke and Toguro aren't fighting just for the sake of it, or just flexing off their muscles. Well, actually maybe Toguro is a little. But it's also a battle of ideals, the very same fight Toguro had with Genkai. But we'll expound on that in a moment. For now, we need to focus on how Toguro just completely tanked a full power blast from Yusuke's spirit gun, his signature move. And he didn't even blink an eye, although he did happen to lose his shades.
Bummer.
But all that spirit gun did was piss Toguro off because now he knows for sure that Yusuke doesn't have what it takes to require his full power. Or so it seems. Turns out Yusuke gave himself a literal handicap in the form of something called spirit cuffs, basically a last-second training tool given to him by the late Genkai. When removed, it's just enough for Toguro to deem Yusuke worthy of his full power, this full power being a monstrous transformation. A display of power that has even Yusuke's own team ready to pack it up. All but assured of Togoro's victory. At this point, Toguro is treating Yusuke like a ragdoll, as Yusuke's every attack has literally no effect on him. But Toguro isn't convinced. He thinks Yusuke has more left in the tank. Admittedly, this battle of who's really stronger is getting a bit repetitive, but the best is yet to come. Right as things seem to be at their absolute lowest, Toguro realizes that Yusuke shows glimpses of strength every time his friends are threatened. But Toguro isn't the only one to come to this realization. Genkai literally comes back from the dead to possess Yusuke's spirit animal. She does this to tell Toguro that the only way he's going to get the fight that he's been yearning for all these years is if he kills one of Yusuke's friends. Which friend, you might ask?
How about you, Kuwabara?
Yusuke fights desperately to stop Toguro from doing this to no avail. When Kuwabara finally realizes there's no stopping him, he tells the others to stand down, and he accepts his fate with vigor.
A mulberry is a tree, Kuwabara is a man, and I'll prove it. We all have to die when our time comes, but if we do our duty, we don't got regrets. So taste a little piece of my sword, Toguro.
The relationship they had for all these years comes to an abrupt end. Yusuke's closest friend is killed right before his eyes, and with all this training and power he has gained, he was helpless to do anything about it. Yusuke was utterly hopeless. The episode beautifully named Yusuke's Despair. But still, it's hard to argue with the results because directly after this, Yusuke's energy is overflowing. But instead of being full of rage and immediately ready to beat the brakes out of Toguro, instead he seems to have fallen deeper into his despair. Yusuke blames himself for not being strong enough to finish Toguro without the emotional push provided by killing Kuwabara.
I just didn't know how to reach it. And I have to live with that.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
This moment was the first time I had ever really felt a fictional character's pain. I had seen characters crash out and enter a blind rage after losing someone special to them.
Get him up, let him get up, let him get up, let him get up.
But I had never seen someone finally achieve the strength they were searching for and cry. When I reviewed the scene for this video, it was hard not to tear up a little. Even while Yusuke marches to Toguro with his power unlocked, he does so with his head down as he reminisces about the time he and Kuwabara had together. After Toguro killed Genkai, Yusuke could never forgive him. But now, he'll never be able to forgive himself. Then the final battle ensues. Toguro has another power-up, but as he reaches 100%, at this point, Yusuke's fed up with the whole situation, so he puts his all into his last spirit gun, finally defeating Toguro. There are just so many levels to this fight, like how by the end of it, Toguro becomes very similar to the demon he killed all those years ago. In fact, Toguro still hates himself for that moment and for what he has become. He is so self-loathing that in many ways, he was looking for someone not just to be strong enough to challenge him, but also strong enough to kill him. Yusuke was exactly that. He even went as far as to purposely miss the vital organs in Kuwabara, all in an attempt to motivate Yusuke while not actually killing his friend. He did, however, actually kill Genkai. But don't worry, she gets brought back as well. Well, kinda. Anime can be confusing. But even when Toguro is shown in the afterlife, he decides to go to the deepest level of hell when he could have very well gotten a much lighter sentence, due to the good he did in his life. Despite this, he deems his actions towards the end unredeemable. I feel Togoro's character is best summed up in this monologue about him.
But beneath it all, I suspect you would find just a normal man with a wounded heart and a broken dream.
These couple of episodes of Yu Hakusho made me realize something. This is not the ordinary cartoon that I was used to. Yeah, it showed more blood and had better action sequences, but it had a specific flavor of nuance that I had yet to grow accustomed to. I laughed, I cried, I cheered, and I booed, but I always wanted more. So by the time I finished the show, there was a spark that was lit under me. I embarked on a journey from anime to anime, a journey that I'm still on today, and it all came from that singular moment. Tell me what moment made you an anime fan in the comments, and if you're not one as of yet, I implore you to try anime out and hopefully you'll have a similar experience to me. Anyway, I'm Jamilian, and you're one in a million.